Good afternoon. Let's see, what are we doing today? Well, today we're going to be continuing working on our night sky. Basically, we're trying to recreate this piece of concept art. We're trying to recreate this right here, and I'll pop everything open. But the next part of it is basically we need to make this sky, and I was messing around with it last time, but kind of stalling out, messing around with Unreal's sky stuff. And it's pretty obvious I need to, to get the effect I want, I'm going to have to learn how to make skyboxes and things like that, right? Like, that makes sense. Thought I wouldn't show up today. Well, welcome back, Karakan. I am here today. Yeah, so we left off last time, and basically what we're going to be working on is trying to get the sky looking proper and all that, and we have just this kind of mess at the moment with the sky. Like, we've got this sky sphere that we've just been basically hacking to pieces, and it's using this Panning Clouds 2 texture, or material, that is. And all this other stuff, which I'm gonna kind of try, I think, a little bit different sort of idea. Yeah, the Dyson sphere, that's true. So one of the things that I was working on is, it's like, well, how can we actually make some sky spheres? And one of the free programs is Spacescapes, and this is one of their example skies. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to try to, because this is basically, you can add all sorts of layers of stuff all over the place. And you can, create skyboxes that look like this. So I'm going to try to import their example in here, because it looks cool, and it's also a good representation. Like, they now support, I think you can export a skybox, and it actually has settings for specifically Unreal for exporting cube maps and stuff like that. So that's pretty awesome. I was thinking we might be able to actually use that. So I've exported one of these guys into this test skybox. DDS file, so I'm going to try to import that and try to get that displaying for the night sky. And thank you, Lucas. We're going to try to hopefully, instead of hacking together a bunch of BS, we're going to take the next step, which is learn how to actually make our own skyboxes. So let's go ahead and get that ready to import here. So let us go and import this test skybox. Let's see how it works. It's a really big skybox. This is like a 4096. I have no idea how this skybox stuff works in Unreal, so we're gonna figure it out. So I guess it's gonna hang on importing. Now this is a 400 megabyte file. I can try re-exporting this at a lower resolution and see at what the different skybox stuff is working on. How am I otherwise? Oh, I'm doing fine. So export that as different resolutions and we'll see how big they are. Alright, well that's looking like it's taken quite a while to import. We'll see if there's something busted with it or something else. Who knows? Yeah, if you look at the sizes of these guys, the skyboxes at different resolutions here are 400 megs, 100 megs, and 25 megs. And I'm surprised this is not wanting to import. Let's see what's up with it. Unreal is running at currently, it looks like pretty much max CPU for this thing, so it's trying pretty hard to import this texture. Like there it is at 40% gain with a lot of memory as well. So we'll see what it can do. I'll go ahead and remove Visual Studio from it because having Visual Studio attached can slow things down sometimes. Well, it may be just transcoding a bunch of the texture into something that Unreal likes, so it probably wouldn't actually be a loading sort of issue. But let's take a look at the content folder and see if, like, we got test content, sky. Okay, we got the sky asset, which is like you'd expect this to be shunting to disk or something, but it's not. Alright, well let's go ahead and just kill that thing. Obviously it's not do what we want it to. So we're going to try importing one of the lower res ones. Because if the high res ones are going to take 2 million years to load, then we can at least estimate how long it'll take by loading in one of the smaller ones. And I deleted something there, I just restored it. So we'll try to import one of these skyboxes. You know, the low res version of this thing right here, or the lower res. We'll see. I haven't messed around with this, so I don't know how low res a low res thing is. It might be quite high res. You can never tell with a lot of these things. So we're going to go to import. And let's try the smallest one, 1024. And this is only a... this isn't a gigantic thing. Alright. So we've got this skybox thing. And yeah, it isn't super high res at all, is it? And it is a cube map. Resource size is 8 megabytes. So it really didn't... Let's see if we save this to something else that it actually exports maybe a little bit better. Well, I guess there's this export 4 and all that. Well, we'll see. Maybe I can import the other one. Well, let's save this one first. Alright. Then we can try importing that 2048 one. So we'll try importing this guy in here. So if the other one took like 20 seconds or something, then this one should take, what? 4 times as long? And there's definitely some texture transcoding stuff, because the size of the 1024 DDS file was 25 megs, but the test skybox UAsset turned it into something that's 8 megs, so it's definitely doing some texture re-encoding shenaniganry, which I don't know how efficient Unreal is at that, so it might be kind of not efficient at all. Alright, so that one took about a minute or so. You can see it's higher res. You can see them right next to each other. So go ahead and save it, and we're going to see what we can actually do with maybe a cube map here. So let's see, this is the material that's being applied to. We've got this sky sphere mesh, which is using this panning clouds sky material, and it's got a whole bunch of other stuff on it. Which is setting all these scalar parameter values inside of the material instance. So really, like, we might want to just make our own thing here real quick and try to recreate this object ourselves. So like if we made a new blueprint, and this is off of actor, this is going to be test skybox. So we're going to grab the sky sphere and we're going to copy that into our test content. So we'll copy the one that Unreal has built in. So the sky sphere is this sphere. And it has a default material and all that stuff, which is this panning clouds 2, which is this one. So let's change that. Let's make a new material ourselves. So this material just has an emissive color. It's a surface opaque unlit material. Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and copy this material. So duplicate it, we're gonna call this test sky material. And so this is our test sky material. I'm just gonna delete everything. And what we're going to do is grab a texture. Let me just get a color. So it'll just be white. In our test skybox, what we're going to do is we're going to throw our sky sphere in there. Base scene component and then sky sphere is what they have. So well, this is the viewport for that one, and this is the viewport for this one. So we're gonna have to figure out what is going on with why there's sky sphere. Let's see, we don't want panning clouds 2, we want the test sky material. So this is our white void. So if we change this material color to something else, then we've got our red void. Alright. So I guess we should grab our texture coordinates. We can grab our texture, I guess, which, why don't we try our skybox? So we can't just chuck this in here like that. For our material is what it's saying. So we need UV input, but it needs to be something else. Let's see. So for their material, do they have a cube map that they use? Like, they have this texture sample, but for this texture, which is this Sky Clouds M, well, this is just a grayscale thing. And we have their sky stars and their sky blue, and that's just all textures, etc. And this is actually a texture cube. I mean, so let me see, is there... Is it something like this absolute world position node? Would that get that? Would that make that okay with us? Well, let's see what it looks like. So this would be what our skybox would look like. Well, that looks all completely wrong. So let's see what they've got here. Horizon, sky colors. Because if we basically took this night sky, we took it out, we put in our test skybox. Oh god, what have we done? It's like a black hole. So let's see, skybox. So I need to figure out what actually I need to do for making a skybox. Because I've never done this before. So I'm not really sure what, for a skybox, you're supposed to pass in. So we need a skybox material. It's really just the material at this point. Like, what are we supposed to pass in for a material? So we're supposed to grab the camera vector? I mean, I guess that makes sense a little bit. I mean, it doesn't look like it's mapped properly, though. So let's see what their skybox stuff, like the material is fine. It's the so what on their skybox and their skysphere makes their box stay in the middle of everything? So we'll start at the base of this thing. So we have default scene route. We can't change the name of it, of course. Category should be, we can't even change this. Parent socket none, components none. We have all these different LODs and all that. Alright, so skysphere mesh. It's a static mesh component. And we're using the skysphere. We have the static mesh. We have the sky panning clouds. We have any different things. I guess we want the no collision. Rendering visible hidden in game is false. Override materials. I don't see anything else. So the event graph is empty, but the construction script is not. So let's take a look at the script. Well, it's new for me as well, Calvin. I don't know what I'm doing. So these guys have got So let's see, what are they doing in their construction script? They're creating a dynamic material instance based on the SkySphere mesh. They're creating it by grabbing the source material off of, yeah, we're just grabbing the panning clouds, sky material. We're setting the light direction, we're setting the sun color, we're setting the light direction there, sun color there, sun height, clouds, horizon color, zenith color, clouds, clouds, clouds. Really, all I see them doing is setting scalar parameter values. Now my problem is, inside of their SkySphere thing here, inside of this viewport, we can't actually get outside of the SkySphere, but inside of mine you can. So it's kind of like, what the hell's going on here with... I mean, it must be this default scene root thing that they've got. I'm not sure what they've got going on with that. But if we duplicate theirs and we do like copy test night sky, if we can just swap out the material, it doesn't even do anything when we swap out the material. And we swap it out inside of here, or at least inside of this thing. Let's see if we just get rid of everything inside of this initialization code. We go to our viewport. Yeah, so they've got something going on with their skybox, which is keeping it... Yeah, there's this... update sun direction. Is a function? Well, we don't need that. Alright, so it's something to do with... Like, we have an actor, which is static, and we have a scene component, which is base, and then a static... Now, why has it got a skydome category? There's got to be something with that skydome category. We're just doing something for that. I do not know. Well, override settings. Override? Well, what's it overriding? Alright, well, we can copy that, and I guess we should try using it instead. So there's nothing out there. We throw this into the world, and all of a sudden we've got our horribly created skybox. Which looks all sorts of jacked up. So let's see, our test sky material is grabbing our 2048 texture skybox. So let's see. Compression settings? Is there a better... Is there like literally a skybox setting? Like it says it's a cube map. Oh no, vector displacement map. I just tried changing something. What have I done? Alright, so the compression type for the cube map is supposed to be TC_HDR. So I guess it's supposed to be this HDR setting right here. Maybe once Unreal unfucks itself here, we can change it to the right setting. And it's definitely some texture and coding stuff. This thing is just chugging away at it. I'm apparently using the wrong name in the material editor. Alright, yeah. This went from 32 megabytes to very large. Alright, so on HDR. Basically, we've got this thing from 2014, which is from an Unreal Engine developer, which is we're supposed to have this cube map in here, which is texture sample parameter cube, and then we're supposed to pass the camera vector in there. And the camera vector there basically will throw it out to infinity and all that. I like this guy's response. Daedalus is right. What was it? No, it's this guy's response. It must be something about the compression settings. My wife is reading manga on the computer, so I can't look at this. It's from the staff. Alright, so we got this, and wow, that looks a hell of a lot different than what we had. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that. Control S, of course, doesn't work sometimes because I have no freaking idea. But hitting the little save box, you know, hitting the floppy disk that nobody even knows what it looks like or what it is anymore, that of course works. Alright, so our test sky material should not be using this texture sample. Sample this type color should be linear color. Alright, so we should be taking a linear color. And this looks all sorts of jacked up. So what we should be doing is, what was the name of that? It was a texture sample parameter cube. So we should be throwing that in there and then putting the emissive color output like so. I mean, that does not look right to me. Like, it looks close to right, but obviously, like, the texture is not correct. So if we look at this in the world, it just looks all bleh. It's basically like the corners aren't matched up. Like that corner should be over there. So the question is this cube map wrong? Or is our material wrong? And the question would be, we should probably try to get a different cube map real quick and slot it in here and see if it works. So we're looking for this thing, which is a texture cube. So why don't we copy this test? Oh, come on, how come I can't drag this thing? So if we go ahead and copy this over here and slot it into our texture, I mean our material, perhaps that'll do it? An environmental image, yeah. So I'll throw this as test cube, and we'll see if this cube map is correct. And if this cube map is correct, then our export is wrong. And I wonder why our export is wrong. Yeah, so this is what the cube map looks like in there. And if we slot this in here, so this will be test cube. Did our shaders not compile, or... So I inverted the camera vector, and that's what it looks like. So I'm guessing that the mesh that we snagged is wrong somehow. Either that, this material is screwed up. I'm gonna go ahead and exit the editor. And reload it. Just to make sure it's not something insane, because I've had issues where we have things that are set up properly, but for some reason it refuses. Especially around materials, when you have an issue with your texture samplers. We've had it so the material is just broken and you have to like recreate the texture sampler thing, and there's no way to save it properly. It's just busted. And this is the sort of shit I'm talking about right here, where this material is just broken. So sampler type is linear color, but should be colored for this. Alright, so let's take a look at their test cube. Their test cube is HDR, no sRGB. HDR, no sRGB. Alright, so our other cube map is HDR, no sRGB. So what's different? No sRGB. Of course, changing this. This one is checked. This one is unchecked. Use legacy gamma. Alright, the W is should be 0. Anyway, this thing is freaking out here. So yeah, this is me not doing a tutorial, this is me living the tutorial. And I should probably be getting these settings and working with that smaller exported cube map just to make sure I know what the hell I'm doing, because it's a lot easier to edit it. So we just have to be patient. Or at least I have to be patient. You guys can leave. Alright, we set the W to 1. And I'm going to go ahead and save this skybox, and I'm going to start using the smaller one. Alright, so we're going to match these settings. So we want HDR and no sRGB. Yeah. Alright, so we got no sRGB, so it's changed to this. And what we want to do is we want to check we want this to be true. But it's not letting us do it, so there must be something else. So use legacy gamma, and we want 0.0. And it's pretty close to accurate. It's just that this chunk right here and this chunk right here are in the wrong spots. So MIP-gen settings are from texture group. We'll see if that does anything. Alright, so if we save this, and we go to our test sky material, and we go to this and we do the test skybox, and hit apply, we see our skybox. Alright, so if we go in here and we switch this out with our test cube, and I had to mess around with some stuff to get this to actually do what I wanted. So with a skybox, it should be looking like that, but it's not looking like that. So our texture's wrong. There we go. It's Spidey running around the Unreal campus. Alright, so what that means is our export from this is wrong. So I guess Spacescapes, the program that does this stuff, doesn't make cube maps properly. Let's see if one of the other export settings works properly. So let's take the 1024, let's just export for source or whatever. So source export 1024. Because if we have to export this as 6 planes and then go mess around with stuff, then we have to go mess around with stuff. But I'd rather not have to. mean, it's a free program. You can't really bitch at them. But I can bitch at them. Fuck these guys. How dare they have an export process that says it's for frickin' Unreal and then it doesn't work for Unreal. A bunch of knuckleheads. What the hell do they think they're doing? Alright, so we're trying to import these things. Yeah, and I have never worked with skyboxes. Like, even in the games I made in college, etc. We didn't even have a skybox for our game. We just threw a whole bunch of fog and bullshit on it. Called it good. And then, of course, working professionally, I was doing server work, so I was never touching skyboxes. Alright, so we've got our different skyboxes. And it looks like the different exports do different things. So it looks like maybe the source and ogre exports for spaceships or whatever actually throws them in the right place. Let's go ahead and let's try using the source export here. And we'll match the settings with our test cube here. So it needs to be HDR, no sRGB. I wish I could... Yeah, we'll defer compression here, and we'll undefer it after I... Oh, come on. I can't... I just want to, like, click all the buttons and then hit apply. Because this is a little ridiculous that I have to wait for it to re-encode the damn texture every single time here. And this nebula should be this thing. Supposedly, right? It looks real washed out. It's probably the resolution. Alright, so those options probably aren't available. The legacy gamma and all that stuff probably doesn't matter anymore.